Well, this guy's officially become challenging to handle. He's got all these floaty bits on him, all these little fiddly chains and stuff. His wings are still not on. I'm hoping, not tonight, but the next time I'll be able to actually put his wings on. There's a lot of stuff underneath where they attach that I want to make sure that I hit first. But tonight, we're mainly looking at all of the warpy business, which will involve some paint mixing, which would be fun. And then hopefully a lot of the chains and sensors that are hanging off of him now. So the warp stuff is pretty much all this stuff tooting out of his head and then out the back of the side. You can see it there. There's a little bit coming off of one of the nurglings down there, a little bit off the back of that chain. So I'll hit all those, then hit the chains, and maybe if there's time, depends on how attentive I am, I can hit these pieces of cloth here and get them to blend in nicely. And then we should be good to go. But yeah, lots of work to do. It never ends with this guy. Last night was a bit of a challenge. Had to do some snipping here and there to get things to fit, but they did. And it's none the worse for wear. Got him on his base, but now it's complicated. I'm wondering if he'll. Nah, I might use a handle for him. See if he fits on one. That might be dangerous though, because then I'm going to set him down like that. He's going to be super top heavy. So that's a little bit, I'll just use my hands. I'll just suffer through it. But I got to be wicked careful now because every last little corner of him is tiny little bits that are easily just broken. So, on to this warp stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mix sort of some bluish to purple and some sort of magenta thing. Oh, that's actually in the shot. That's convenient. And I want it to be thin. So I'm starting with some blue wash and some red wash. And then I'm just going to glop some stuff. Oh yeah, you probably should shake your stuff before you use it, buddy. And then I'll start to mix stuff in. Which is essentially what I did with Typhus. I'm not adding glitter this time. There we go, that's a little darker. And we'll see how that goes. I've actually run out of those little things that come on the ends of brushes that I use to siphon stuff out, but I got a big old package of these guys, so you can start doing stuff like that, and then I can squeeze that out, and then in theory, probably use the same one a few times as long as I'm super fast at cleaning it out in my brush water, which I am. I don't know how thin Screamer Pink is, but we're going to find out the hard way. Never used this before, but it seems neat. I could try to get some of it out of here. Yeah, it comes right up. A little bit of a glob. Hope it doesn't come back out. Okay. So be it. Oh, now my water's nice and pink. Yeah, it was too thick. Too thick to bother with there. Let me chuck this in the trash. 2 points. I will use ye old shtick method. That's just gonna be better. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I like that. Just wipe it on the side of this thing. Leave that there. I'll drop my elbow in it shortly, I'm sure. I don't think I want to lighten it up at all. I don't think. But who knows? I'll grab a little bit of Corax White and set it on the side. So if I want to dip my brush in there a little bit and just pull some in, I can do that. And no, I have not done this before like this. So no, I don't actually know if this is a good idea. But at least I'm only doing all this stuff with a simple to paint model that I can easily replace. Okay, just glop some of that on there. Now I've just got it at the ready when I need it. And let's find out if this works. How's this brush feeling? Yeah, this brush is okay. Alrighty. Now, it may turn out that I just end up going with a straight up purple that's a mix of the two of these. That could happen. But what I want to do to start is at a baseline, do like part of it in blue, part of it in sort of magenta back and forth. And then afterwards, I may hit it with a thinned out layer of like a mixture of the two. And in my head, at least, that seems like it'll look warpy. So what I'm going to do, just because discretion is a better part of valor, I'm starting with this. Let's see if I can hold this in a way that people can actually see what I'm doing when they watch this. There we go. Starting on this little guy down here. Because it is primed, but not all out in front. So if it turns out that I don't like this down here, I can live with that. But it's not like straight up screaming at you across the board. Just continue to get a glop of this on there. Some of it's a little darker, some of it's a little lighter. I do want it to be like a pretty interesting mix of color. That's what the warp's like, folks. Incomprehensible, not unlike my painting techniques. Okay, and then I'm gonna squish some of this off of here, off the end of the brush. Switch over to this mix of Screamer Pink and Red wash. And they're intended to sort of drip into each other. So you can sort of see it's pretty wet on there. And I'm letting it sort of just, I'm dabbing this and letting it just sort of mix. So it's way more magenta than it is blue, but that's fine. I'm really sorry about that camera, but it is amazingly hard to get under this thing. It'll be a lot clearer when I switch onto this. So anyway, showing you there, it's a pretty wild mix of colors. The paint and the wash are just kind of squiggling around doing their thing. Neilac oxide, technical. Don't know why it's technical, but it's got a different texture to it. Screamer Pink is just, I think, a base, and then two washes. So it's kind of all over the place, and I'm going to tell you that I kind of like it. So that's enough of a test there. Now I'll do something that's a little bit more visible if you're playing along at home. So all of this toot toot out the back of his, I don't know, rebreather, if you can call it that. It does have bugs on it. So I'm going to try to avoid those. If I hit them, it's not a big deal. I'm going to eventually do those in black so they really stand out. I might give them tiny little red eyes if I'm feeling coordinated enough. But for now, I'm just going to go over and streak all of this with that mix of Neilac oxide and blue wash. I'll just run it down all over the place. I'm not going to hit the whole thing all at once because I want this mixture of wash and Neilac oxide to be relatively wet. And I'm super at the ready for the moment that I drip some of this on his totally emo, drab looking stuff. And then I'll have to go in and do a rescue real quick. But I'm being very cognizant of that. So, and I hope this is a good idea. Feels right. If it feels right, maybe it is right. And I am very much expecting that there will be like a separate coat of something a little bit closer in between the two, probably thinned out a lot, that goes on top of this. Let's see if we can get this thing looking kind of warpy. Yeah, so you can see with this, I'm really just dabbing it on the white spots and relying on wetness that's already there to sort of move it around a bit. In some spots I'm really painting it. That's fine. I can already tell you that these little bone things there, those are probably going to need some cleanup. Clean up on aisle 3. Just hit a little spot there. That's not too bad. A little dab of what I originally whited that in should take care of that when I get to it. Alrighty. Just sort of blotting it in there. There is a lot of like insertion needed to get into these spots. kind of looks like obnoxious bubblegum ice cream right now. But it is warpy colors. And I think once I hit it with something that sort of rounds it out a little bit, it'll bring it all together. At least I hope so. This model asks a lot of me. And if you see any like vacant white spots, some of them are probably screw ups on my part, but some of that is just where there's bugs. It may not show up on the camera all that well. It's like cotton candy. Good Lord, my kid would absolutely love the color choice here. Agent of Chaos. All right. And now glasses go all the way up the nose. Gently reach inside there and hit the spots we can't see all that easily. That in there, yep. Thankfully, this is all warp up here, so short of this spike, as long as I don't hit that with these garish colors, I'm in pretty good shape. There we go. That is garish. That is something else. Alrighty. Just hit a little dab on the end there a little bit. This is a little bit like contrast paint, so any sharp corners are getting a sort of respite. Yep. Well, this is certainly something. Pull that up off of that piece of metal. Could stand to be a little bit more careful. That wouldn't hurt. I'm trying to get like decent coverage, but leave some strips kind of open so that that Screamer Pink has a place to go. And it'll wash its way around. This is very loosey-goosey. I've decided I don't care about those bugs at all. I'm going to go straight over them because they're absolutely getting black. I need the flexibility to use my lack of skill here to its full potential. Grab some purple in here. And at this point, I'm being somewhat irreverent with my concern over mixing the paint, because I'm pretty sure it's going to get a pretty solid mix between the two of them to finish up. All right, so there's some white. I dab in a little bit here. This is loud. I love it. It's like the brightest thing I've ever painted, ever. It's like not even me. But the point here is that these are brighter, but they actually harken. You can see like the super drab on the cloth. It's basically that kind of blue, and a little bit of red into fuchsia down there. So we're sort of referencing ourselves with this a little bit. It's not complete madness. It's crazy. It's got a point. And every single time one of these little chains bumps down on my workspace, it gives this like gnarly scratch. Hopefully you can't hear it over the mic, but it's like, scary. Yeah, there's that tube in there I didn't think about. I'm gonna have to sneak in there with some metallics to get, there's a tube hiding in there. It's just totally primed white, and that's it. All right, now we're gonna start being way more careful. Famous last words, right? Just scooch in there. Scooch in there. I don't have to worry too much about those tube things because those are going to get lead belcher and then a bunch of dark stuff over them. You'll note I'm basically doing this in such a way that the order of operations doesn't hose me too much. As you can see, as I start blending it a little bit, intentionally being chaotic, it's not all super dark or super light anymore. I'm just using the liquid that's already on there, moving stuff around, and it's blending on its own because I added that much wash into the mix, because neolac oxide is a thing I don't understand, but I don't need to understand it because I have faith. There we go. Now I'm just rotating it around to find all the spots that I never got, because that just happens. With me, it happens quite a bit every time you rotate the model. But yeah, I'm not grabbing any more paint. Don't need it. And now I can just find little spots where it's like aggressively fuchsia or aggressively blue and just tap around them a little bit. Get a little bit of a blend there. It's interesting because it's not contrast paint, but it is doing that sort of thing you get around the edges a little bit. I'm psyched that I have a witness for this, because I'm terrified right now. Alrighty. That's a fly. Roll this guy over. Yeah, now I gotta thread that needle. That's gonna be a pain. That, given how much I sub-assembled this, is something I probably could have accounted for. Now we truly act like a noob, and we pay for our sins there. There we go. Oh, I'll just clop it in there. So chaotic. I like it though. I'm just going to get over all these bugs. That way it won't draw my eye to the spots that are white. It'll be easier for me to find the ones that are actually unpainted. It's not too shabby in there. I don't think it's perfect. That's a lot to ask. I wonder if I need one of those brushes with like the hooked end. All right, so as you can see though, like pretty interesting coloration, interesting quote unquote. Not bright relative to, there's a whole chunk I whiffed on. It's bright relative to the rest of the model, but it's not too much. It's not screaming green, which would work on a different color scheme if I painted this model differently. But this is enough color to feel super warpy, and I love all those beautiful works of art of, you know, ship in the warp, and it's this crazy mix of magentas and blues and crazy purples and stuff, and everything that I've been reading lately. I might go back over Typhus's warp stuff with a little bit of this mix. He's pretty, but he came out kind of dark, but he's got glitter on him. The boy's got glitter. Can't fault him. Screamer Pink, I like it. One of my new paints. Branching out. Trying to use a little bit of color. Trying to be super careful around the sides. Grip my teeth a little bit. Get around there. And as it starts touching that blue, it starts just permeating and blending. There, get inside here very gently, and not unlike, I mean, you gotta be super careful, but not unlike using an actual wash. A lot of times there's a really weird spot you need to hit. You just need to sort of dab up against it and let the liquid walk over the model. You're not gonna get brush strokes. You can't, because everything's too thin here. There you go, buddy. All right, are there any bits I'm missing? I got this one down here. I got all of this up here. There's a spot you missed, you jabroni. There you go. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that I missed. There's all sorts of horrifying space on this that I missed. But it is warpy. I could hit it. Something shinier. I don't think I want to do that, though. I think I would want to let this settle in a bit. And now I'm just doing annoying bits that I can see that I missed. From angles that no one will ever see until someone reaches across the table and drops my Mortarion hole. Got a little dab in there. It is interesting. You can, oh, you see I got some purple on me already. You can sort of get a dollop of this wash as long as you're holding the thing upside down. Just sort of get in there and press a little bit. Yeah, honestly, I may just end up hitting this with a light wash. I may just take some Lamia medium and some white over it just to get some edge on it. But I dig it. I dig it. I hope you dig it too. And I hope I keep spinning this thing to find the weird spots that weren't hit so well. And much as you don't have to worry about brushstrokes, because the paint is doing all the moving around the model, it moves a lot where things are already wet. It's just sort of like creeps along. But it will, when it hits a dry section of the model, it'll just stop. And so it's very easy to sort of get lazy and think you got the whole thing when you absolutely did not get the whole thing. This is in pretty decent shape in there. I don't think I want to mess with it underneath there anymore at all. I am going to give it a couple more spins. I will find something. Yep, there we go. I have a tough enough time finding spots that I miss on models that are reasonably symmetrical. All this warpy stuff underneath is something else. All right. I feel pretty good about that. I'm just going to floss underneath this boot just in case it doesn't end up sitting flat. I did say there's one other little, yeah. This little guy's got warp stuff on him. Yoink. I knew it. And once again, I don't have to worry too much about hitting this stone. I'm trying not to. Trust me. Trying not to. But if I do, that's probably getting some pretty thick stuff on it. I will wipe things clean because I'm not a complete and utter savage. It's chaotic, and then there's lazy, and they're two different things. That's good enough. I'll get his other little swoop of warp. A little white in there just because I'm curious ahead of time what it looks like. Blue. Yeah, the blue as a starter sort of gets your coverage nice and wet, so the other stuff can move around. Dab with this magenta, this screamer pink. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to get hyped over bright colors. I don't think I'd ever. I don't think anytime soon I'm gonna paint, like a super bright colored army, but it is a lot of fun I'm denying myself by being in the Death Guard zone. All right, I am going to let you sit here for a second, my boy, and dry for once. I should be able to hit most of this metal stuff without disturbing this wonderful warp juice that I've done. And that does look wild. Well, I'm glad that, I'm not saying it's good, but I'm glad it turned out how I thought it would turn out, so that it wouldn't call a bunch of stuff into question. Sort of blue and magenta cotton candy warp stuff, good. And then I can go over that with a wash of some sort, maybe a white wash, maybe something sparkly, maybe not. But the distribution of it and the colors are right, so that feels good. On to metallics, and I may use a similarly sizable brush for this as well. Actually, do I have a workhorse brush on me? a couple. Not going to use a new one. Yeah, the Citadel base brush. The classic Chevy truck metallic paints. There wasn't a lot in here last time I checked. I am a little concerned about how dangerous it's going to be to do the little guy's wings. That I'm a little scared about. Optimally, I would try to make them look like these wings, but that might be a big challenge. I think at the very least I can get all the veins looking right. There's not a lot of space to fade, so I'll hit the veins with that, and then I don't know, maybe I can do it. Those wings are tiny, but I think if I get the veins to stick out and it's got some green on it, we're in good shape. Also, yeah, that color works with that. So a lot of people with their Mortarion do a pretty awesome, but like kaleidoscopic look on the wings or the cloak. And my wings and my cloak are pretty faded. He's obviously, his armor's not green. It's like in that old school, dirty looking, but light colored, maybe Horus Heresy era kind of color. So like he's relatively drab. I wanted him to be ghostly. So a little extra color on the warp stuff draws the eye around, and it's such tiny little dots of it all over the place. I dig it. Big old sip of tea, pollute my lungs a little bit, and then we'll run down all of these chains. Then I'll hit the sensors with some warp lock bronze, because I love warp lock bronze. I love this model. I'm a little ashamed that I was so scared for so long, but not that ashamed. It is tough. It's not a beginner model, but I think I've proven you don't really have to respect the concept of beginner. You can just do it. Man, I really don't have a lot of lead belcher. I gotta buy some. Alright, so I'm just gonna get some on my trusty wet palette. Oh yeah, it's gloppy. I'm gonna have to stir that around a little bit. I'll hit you with a little bit of water. Yeah, this brush has seen some stuff. Let's put it that way. Ye old Citadel base brush. But it is a workhorse. It's a great brush. It's just, it's great for someone like me who doesn't really have a ton of technique behind them, who may kind of beat their brushes up a little bit. It can absolutely take a beating. And you can get a lot done with it. I think it's all I had. I think it's the only thing that comes with the base set. There's a box with 3 Infernus Marines. And that's all you get. That 3 colors, a wash, one of which is a metallic. I think it's Balthazar Gold. You get Macragge Blue, Balthazar Gold, whatever the black is. It's probably Chaos Black. And you get a base material, and I don't know. I think I said all of them. I don't know. I'm rambling. But with that base brush, it's still expensive. That's the only thing that stinks. Is like, if you're like a little kid who wants to get started, you're still looking at $35. But you can get a lot done with that $35. How am I going to hold this guy and not touch everything warpy? Yep, there we go. Get this whole chain. And this will get a bunch of Viejo black wash on it, so it's unhappy looking. I still have to decide whether or not I want any actual rust on this guy. Teetering. I love me some Rise of Rust, but I'm pretty sure that orange is like not gonna fly with this color scheme. I'm pretty sure that would be a mistake. I'll have to stay my hand. It's tempting. It's very tempting. I am glad I put these chains on last. They're a pain, and these are absolutely the worst chains for your brush. Because they're not like links, they're just like spikes. The end of this brush is getting so whooped. I can't wait to have this guy done. I can't wait. It's a pleasure to paint him. He's expensive, but like what an absolute investment of you get your money's worth out of the time it takes to paint him. I guess I'll put it that way. Watch that little trinket. Oh, you poor brush. Like I'm just running you into a drill. Hit anything? I didn't. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Weird orb thing isn't really all that together. And I don't even think I had to glue that thing together on the end there. I think the model's just like that. I might have to liquid green stuff that thing. All right, let's find a different way to hold this. Twist my arm into oblivion. Yeah, the view tonight is going to be sketchy. Put it that way. I feel like I should get a GoPro and just put it on my head. Like an additional camera on screen of just whatever I'm staring at. And I can turn my head and you can look at my totally grungy office. Alrighty. That one is a doozy. Okay, let's check the time. I'm in good shape. This one last spike or two. Now I can switch over down here. Hit this long boy. Water. Oh, you poor brush. You poor guy. And when you woke up this morning, you thought you were going to have a nice, easy day. But you ain't. Oh, yeah. Devastating. I'm convinced these chains are Games Workshop's way of making you buy more brushes. Just painful. There's really no place to grab this model. I think that's a element of painting chaos stuff in general that some other people don't recognize. There's so many spikes that it's actually hard to handle these models. Like gluing them together is like, ugh, a mess, painful. All Slanesh worship. I think that thing is going to have to get glued down. I hope it doesn't. I'd actually like it to have some amount of flexibility, but I think it's no matter what, it's going to get stuck in my basing material. I also think I'm going to base this guy in like a light sand colored stuff. In case you were wondering. Now I got to get back here. I did do a GoPro. It'd have to be by like Wi-Fi. I don't even know if I could stream that. I don't know if that makes any sense. I could still record it and then maybe edit this stuff in later. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Just thinking out loud. Floss underneath. All right, there's a good angle. Just gotta keep turning this guy around, finding more spots. Make sure the edge of that doesn't have any paint on it, so I can expertly, by expertly I mean sloppily, get in there and hit what's white. Oof. All right, buddy. Just wait for this guy to jump off the base by accident. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yep, just found a little spot where I missed the warp. So many angles to look at. So many angles to look at. Thankfully, I'm still right here so I can hit him. There we go. Little by little. Silver is a little bit tough to see in some spots against the white. Sometimes it just takes a couple goes. But now that I'm here and I see us, where did I find that spot that I missed? Yeah, there it is. Boop. And with the blue stuff. There we go. All right, back in business. Back in business. So that chain's done. That chain is done. Probably set this guy down for a second. Boop. Now I got like 3 or 4 chains right here. That's convenient. It's not the best TV, but I gotta get this guy done. Water to thin things out a bit. Squeeze some off the brush. Try to maintain some degree of control. You definitely want to go in several directions while you're hitting this chain. Ooh, I got a couple nails on there I gotta hit. Yoink. Gentle dabbiting. There we go. That piece of cloth is going to be fun, for sure. You go in several directions because there's so many nooks and crannies, and you don't want to flick the thing, otherwise you'll just be sending metallics all over the place. That's not that cool. There we go. Just get right in there. I don't know how anyone maintains this model. I know how you transport it. I still gotta put magnets on the bottom. But like putting this guy on a table and moving him around just sounds like a recipe for a broken model. Like this guy's gotta super be up there in terms of like most likely to not survive painting, playing with it, anything really. I'm surprised it is as durable as it is. But all this stuff just hanging off. It was like crazy. Like you look at the model if you don't own it, and you're like, oh my god, those wings, those wings, those wings. And truth be told, they're barely like they're only stuck on by like a couple little spots. I don't want to make it seem like they're not precarious, but all this chain work is something else. Spin, yep, there's a good angle. Gives you no place to hold them while you're painting. That's the price of beauty. It's a gorgeous model, and it's a reasonably good workhorse in battle. Screw that up? Oh lordy, did you screw that up? And how? Oof. Big oof. Big old honking chunk of silver paint down the back. Floss this guy real quick. Piece of paper towel. I had the sinking feeling that I whiffed on a brush stroke. Man, did I. Oh, I got most of it out of there. Oh, it's just going to tear this paper towel. It's going to tear it. It's going to shred it. Yeah, I got it. relatively safe. Brief moment of excitement. Try not to have too many of those. All right. All right. Spin this guy a few other ways. A lot of tongues coming out. It means I'm concentrating. There we go. Painting blind. All right, there's a chain down there. Find another place to get a decent grip. So cool. So cool. There's videos of people doing this all put together at once, or just with the wings off. That is some crazy stuff. I don't know how the pros do it. But if I had tried doing this cloak with all this other stuff on it, I don't know. I don't know how I would have possibly survived. A little melodramatic, but I'm sure you get the point. I don't know how it would have worked. Back of this nail here. All right. Do we see any other chains that I have missed? All right. So I'm going to wash this brush off. I'm going to continue with some lead belcher on some spots. But at this point, they're a little bit more detailed. I'm going to go with something a little tinier, a little safer. And because I'm not painting crazy chains, I can use a smaller brush and feel pretty safe about it. Me hopes. Sure, that's a super tiny brush. All right. So I've got at least one tube up here, out of which, I think there's two of them if I remember correct, out of which this warpish goodness comes flowing. You actually can see, which is nice for a change. I don't know what it is. I'm mouth breathing tonight. And around the base with my super wobbly hands. Give this guy a grip from here. There we go. Now we got a nice clean shot at it. Paint. There we go. That little gully. All comes out in the wash, as they say. Sneak in here. Around there, and then another little dab right in that crevasse. I don't actually know if this warp's going to need that much else. Kind of neat. It's kind of neat. All right. Keep spinning. Yep, there we go. On the other side of the helm, a little bit hidden because he got some of that warp on him. There we go. Gentle turn. Not grasping any of the spots that I just painted optimally. Okay. There we go. There we go. That wasn't so bad. It was kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie to you. Okay, so we set this guy down gently. Feel like we're in pretty good shape there, so I'm gonna clean this brush off. And don't know that I want to do the bronze just yet. Maybe I should. It'd be orderly, wouldn't it? Just take a good look at him. I should probably handle getting some of this cloth to blend. That seems like a noble purpose. In which case I can go back to my beater brush. I need to remember what I used. Yeah, Drakenhof Nightshade. It's going to be for the blue. I think it was Magos Purple. I should probably go back and watch my own video and remember what I used. All right, here we go. I'm going to grab some of this. There we go. Drakenhof. Blink. In it goes. Of course, it's got a wonderful seam there because it was glued on after the fact, but hey, them's the breaks. I may be able to fix that in a little bit. This is up above the line of the fade. So we'll need a couple coats of this. But that's not a problem. It will drip down a little bit to the edge of that metal chain, but that's also fine. I don't want it to pool up quite as much as it is right there. So I'll just use that as sort of like a well. I do need to remember that this will get a bit of a wash of Mortarion grime on it as well, but it'll definitely need 2 coats. Turn it this away. Basically, I'm just filling in these newer bits. This Drakenhof Nightshade. This part, I do need to be a little careful here because it should actually fade. I do want it to fade. I can't just run this shade down the whole thing. Sneak this brush in here or just roll it. I gotta look under this guy's arm. Great. That's what I wanted to do. He's looking under Mortarion's arm this evening. There we go. Everybody gets some blue. And now, if you remember from 48 videos ago, just some water. I'm going to dab this guy a little bit so that it's not a super clean line. So what I'll keep doing is going back, grabbing some water, pulling a little bit of pigment along the way. A little lighter. Then when I go back on top, it'll be fine. My second coat, it'll be a little darker on top than it is on the bottom, which is what we're looking for. So that is starting to fade in. All right. I'm not 100% sure that I used Magos Purple before. We'll find out. This may be, I may just contrast over what I did with that warp with Magos Purple. That may be the jam. Yeah, there you go. There's the color we wanted. So the inverse of what I did on top is what I'm going to do on the bottom. I'm going to hit this guy with Magos Purple on the bottom. Then I will dampen the brush pull up with just water. Get the same sort of little bit of a fade going. Okay, so just with a damp brush, I'm just touching this a bit. I'll touch it down here a bit. You can see, like, the actual pigment is going to sneak into those cracks and stuff. It shouldn't be as thick on the top as it is on the bottom. We get a little bit of a fade. Just darken the bottom up a little bit. I mean, that's a lot, but that's going to run for a bit. Let that, in that crevice, just do its thing. Just keep moving it around a little bit. And sort of the full strength on the bottom is going to darken things up as it dries. Then clean the brush once again. And just tap, 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 tap. Water on there. There we go. Zoop, 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 zoop. Now you can sit and meditate. I do think it's probably dried just enough. And I know it's not dry, it's damp. It's dried just enough where I can, just a bit. I don't need to hit that thing too much. Yoink. Pulling it up. Dry the brush so I can soak some more. Oh, now it's running. There we go. Just a little bit of a second coat. I want it to be a little bit darker on the top here. There we go. Right in that fold. We'll do the same precarious thing I just did over here. I want this to be a little darker. And so every second that that pigment is like on the model counts. So as I'm dabbing it around mostly on top. The reason I'm dabbing it is because I don't want it to have a line. I don't want it to just be like, here's where the blue stopped. And I do have that on some points on this model. Like it's painfully visible if you look at it really close. But we're learning. Yeah, it's a really weird spot. So this, let's see if I can show you. I'm not horribly worried about this seam that naturally shows up here because the wing goes bloop right there. So it does hide it. It's not the most masterful thing, I don't think. I don't know, because I haven't put the wings on yet, but it does appear to like give you a little bit of a pass. All right. Just some dark blue on top here. Get rid of the excess. Just keep a few little dabs and strokes. And then a little bit down here. That's not the right thing. Almost made a big mistake. There's one other little snippet of cloth that needs Magos purple. And while I got the Magos purple out, it's contrast paint. Maybe. I'm not going to mess with that warp anymore tonight. I think what I will probably do with that warp is dry brush it with something really light. So get some texture back into it. And then go over the whole thing in Magos purple. Where was that little piece that I said I lost? There we go. Yeah. There you go. Just a little bit of purple in there. Precariously try to find a way to grab this. Just a little bit. Add a little bit more in here. Down by the bottom edges of this cloth. Just to make it a little spicier. I am embracing multiple coats as a lifestyle. All right, so for the most part, we've just got these balls on the end. Obviously, there's the whole base to do. I'm morbidly curious what it would take to put on. I don't think I'm going to do it tonight, but I'm curious. Got these here things that stick on his back. I'm wondering how much of a pain in the keister it would be to put them on. Good Lord. Does that actually fit like that? Oh, Lordy. That's a tight fit, buddy. So, as we now find out, that stick is his scythe. I think I tested this out at one point and everything fit fine, but it is tight in there. Yeah. If I put this guy on here tonight, what am I signing up for in terms of unholy pain when I try to continue painting this? All right. That wing would go on like that. And it actually holds on there pretty well. I would have stuff to do with this warpish silliness. I would have flies to paint. That seems altogether bad to me. All right. But what I can do is, in preparation for that, paint the flies. I know they're going to be black. I know I need them to stand out. I have black somewhere. Try to find. Abaddon black. No time like the present. If I know that those flies are going to be a super pain to paint when I get the wings on, and I know that I want the wings on tomorrow, guess what, buddy? You are painting. Just scoop a little of this out on here. Don't need a ton. I don't want to stick this tiny brush in there. We'll paint the flies tonight. And they can be dry for tomorrow. Everyone can be happy. This is super tiny brush because I need to protect myself from myself. Nice tip on it. Put that in. Now we'll just find all of these flies and blacken them in. That way, no matter what strange business I get into tomorrow, the flies will stand out. I like black flies. They're described that way in the book a lot. Sometimes they're described differently. Obviously, there's more than one kind of fly in the Nurgle arsenal. Getting them to stand out a little bit is good. There we go, buddy. It's a little bit thin on the paint. We should have a little bit more. We are going over a white background, or primer at least. I don't want to lose those flies. Precious, precious detail. You wobbly, buddy? Oh, it's the base wobbling. Oof. I am continuously a little bit nervous about how well this guy stands considering he's floating on cloth. That's a very ambitious modeling choice. Very ambitious. Adds to the mystique. I can't wait to get to play this guy. Having played my very first game just days ago, I am psyched to get up to the point where I can mentally handle a 2,000 point army at the same time. I had no problem with general purpose strategy, but I suffered with dice rolls. So many. I need to get to a point where I know a lot of my basic units pretty commonly. My head just turned to mush the whole time. Like, I couldn't tell you right now, like, what the weapon skill of a Plague Marine is. Like, I just don't have that stuff memorized yet. I would guess it's like 3 or 4. I don't know. But the guys that were teaching me, like, all that stuff is just baked in knowledge for them at this point. So I need to get more and more experience and just play and play and play. And they didn't care. They're literally there to teach me. The store I went to had like an open. Basically, Saturday you can show up and these two dudes are just hanging out waiting to teach people how to play 40k or Sigmar or whatever, which is awesome. What's great about local shops is they do stuff like that. There we go. Turn this guy a little bit. Oh, you can see. Yep, I hit that with the warp. That'll need an update at some point. Clean up on aisle 3. Oh, I feel much more comfortable with super tiny brush. Less likely to ding it around on stuff by accident. There we go. Nice, happy black flies. Make your day complicated when you face off against Mr. Mortarion. Now's the point in the act where I spin them around and find all the spots I didn't get. Quite used to. There's a fly. Alrighty. Looking okay over here. Get this guy, but he's not dark enough. Ooh, there's a whole big fly underneath there that I didn't get. And you serve Nurgle. Some tiny little things, like little flies that really make your day. There we go. Good Nurgly flies. Toot toot out the horns. Give this guy another spin. And yeah. Maybe just a little, ooh, gentle. Gentle. There we go. There we go. So there's some spots that are light on here, but now that the flies are actually black, stand out. When I go over that with a wash, or maybe Magos purple just as a contrast, they'll still be dark, which is good. It won't all get lost in the muck. Alrighty. So I think what do I think? What time is it? 10:05. I think now is probably a wise time for me to tap the brakes. I've got all the chains on. I could hit the ends of them, but some of them are still a little tacky. I don't want to get near those. The warp has its first pass of color on it. That's good. It's definitely going to get washed over with something else. Hey, I don't know what I'm going to use this stuff on, but somebody, someplace on this model is going to get some sort of weird color shifty, shiny stuff. That might be the warp. This color being called acid rain. But I need everything to dry before I do that. And this is an acrylic lacquer, so you got to be like super careful with it. If you brush it on, you'll just pull your paint right up. Bye-bye, paint. So that's not happening tonight. Things need to be like dried and cured. I'll probably throw some of that in the mix. That might actually just dab on the bottom of the wings. We'll see. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to do in bronze. We've got these little lords, these little nurglings to do. And then at that point, it's like little details, little highlights, stuff like that. And haven't forgot. Still got to do the whole base. But I think I am done for tonight. To everybody who dropped in, thank you very much. And we'll see you sometime soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.